questions come through on that.
Yep.
So we'll get started. How's everyone doing today? Shake the head, nod of the head. Oh, the talkative group right off the bat. That's surprising. Usually you guys are asleep. That's why I got this. So thank you guys for coming in. Most of you guys, all of you guys in here know me, but for some of you guys online, my name's Dante Belmonte, one of the partners of Victory Capital Group, local agent over here in Central New York. And I've got my partner, DJ Smith, over here. He's in Charlotte. DJ, you want to say hello?
Yep. Good evening, everybody.
So this week, what I want to talk about is something that a lot of people are always asking about is sourcing deals. So how do we find deals? How do some of my clients find deals? And how other investors that I'm friends with are finding deals that they're putting together. Because it seems like there's two things that people are usually looking for: deals and money. And you put those two together and you have real estate investing. It's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. So that's really what the topic we're going to talk about today. Disclaimer, talk to attorneys, CPAs, all that fun stuff. This is just some information you guys can take in lightly. Deal flow, just so you guys know, here's a few properties I have on and off market. I've got a 6-unit over on Vine Street in the northeast side of the city for about $240,000. 6 one-bedroom units, all master metered on one boiler and one electrical, but that's because there's 6 one-bedrooms. So nice building. I actually used to own the building next door, sold it for a good amount. Sold the building across the street as well for a good amount. Nice neighborhood over there. Over here, we got a 2-unit. We actually just had a price drop on it. This one's actually on the MLS over in Solvay for $119 right now. A 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, pretty solid rents. It's a nice building. It's actually got really good tenants in there. I've met and spoke with both of them. We got another 2-unit over on South Ave for $109. That's off market. Pretty cool units because instead of flats, like 3 beds on one floor, 3 beds on the other, it's side by sides. So you actually have a staircase in each unit. So you've got the living room, dining room, kitchen downstairs, 3 beds and a full bath upstairs, and those are side by side. So nice building there. And then we've got a 2-unit over in Highland Ave, outer Sedgwick for $169. This is really unique because it's 4 levels of living. You actually have the first unit downstairs with another access to the basement that has a finished area. You have the second unit upstairs, and then the attic is actually converted into a full finished area, giving it an additional, call it 300 square feet. Pretty nice area there, and it's got a 2-car garage. So if you guys do have interest in any of those, let me know. I've got a few more coming up that I get the okay to put on to show everyone. But if you're looking for any of those, let me know. And then this month's topic, like we said, sourcing real estate deals. So as I go through, if you guys do have any questions, if there's anything you're curious about that I'm talking about and you would just want a little bit more detail to it, of course, let me know.
Dante, before we jump in, 2 things we wanted to point out. One is a little Victory Capital Group update. So we actually had a winning offer on a 32-unit apartment complex in Greensboro, 36. What we want to convey to everybody, again, this is not a solicitation of funds during this meetup, but it's always good to give updates both on the single family and multifamily side. So had a great lead, winning bid, and the seller significantly misrepresented some data to us. So the long story short is that we're actually pulled that deal off the table for the time being till the seller comes to their senses. But we always put our investors first. So really important for everyone to know when somebody tells us that they're selling us 900 square foot apartment units, 2-bedroom apartments, and they're only 600 square foot, obviously that's going to affect our offer. They misrepresented data. We caught them early in the process. So we move on. So we will have some other deals coming up. And we've actually been invited to participate in some other offerings that we're underwriting right now, as well as sourcing our own deals. So Dante, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, just basically the 36 unit was a pretty sweet deal, worked out pretty well. Going under contract with it during our due diligence. You know, these are 900 square foot units. we go to the property, we start walking through it, or like, these kind of feel small. All right, get up the tape measure real quick. They all
Yeah, it was walk in the door. These are small.
exactly. So it turned out to be 600 square foot units, which is significantly smaller than 900. When we're talking a price per square foot basis, that jumps us up significantly and then prices us out of the market for rentals. So look to renegotiate. Seller wasn't really looking to renegotiate, said, okay, I'll just take it to market. Hey, best of luck to you. When you go to market, we'll give it another shot and see if we can get our lower offer accepted. Like DJ said, we got invited onto a 100+ unit apartment complex in Greensboro. So we'd basically be taking it down with another GP group. So if you guys do have any interest in that, let us know. We're still in the works doing the underwriting. It is under contract. We just want to make sure it works for us and meets all of our metrics is what it comes down to. And then of course, looking at other deals for ourselves, always sourcing other deals and what's out there.
Right. And so tonight's topic, we're going to touch on both single family and multifamily, the process of sourcing deals. Most of these will apply to single family, and as multifamily comes up, Dante, I think we'll just hit on those, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when DJ says single, he's counting for, those 2 to 4 unit, those smaller multifamilies that are a lot of people's bread and butter. So we'll be talking about all those. So yeah, let's hop right into it. So the first one is pretty obvious. It's the MLS. So talking to realtors and looking to see what's on the MLS. So a lot of you guys are probably subscribed to my mailing list. Every time a new multifamily gets listed, you get an email right away. That's a pretty good way to do it. The problem with that is the whole world sees it. So now you're competing with a lot of other individuals. The MLS is a great service. If you have a realtor like myself that you're working with, you can usually just contact me, look for comps. I'll usually send them over to you within a few moments. A client today said, hey, I've got this 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, thinking about putting it on the market. What do you think I can get for it? Within like 10 minutes, I had comps over to him. He's like, all right, great, we'll probably move forward. So you can use the MLS through me if you're not an agent. If you are an agent, obviously you do have access to that data. Through the MLS, I constantly am scoping through the MLS for hidden deals. When looking for keywords, bonus room, that's potential for another bedroom. Distressed. Maybe someone else isn't going to take it down because it's distressed, so you can. A burr I did. I looked through expired listings in the neighborhood I really liked. That expired listing happened to go active again, so the agent renewed the listing, and so I got a notification of it, and the property was listed for $75,000. Cash is king. I put in an offer for $35,000 cash from 75. So you got a pretty big deficit there. They said, no, we can't really do that. We ended up coming to 42,000. So we came off from 75,000 to 42,000. That's a pretty big price break, and it made the project work significantly. And so I birthed the project. That's me looking at expired listings, and we'll get into that a little bit. But there is deals to be had in the MLS. People always tell you, oh, everyone's looking at the MLS. That can't happen. I promise you there are deals out there. Working with agents is very good too, because of pocket listings. Like I was showing earlier, some off-market properties I had. Ben, what was the last property you bought?
Right before I went to listing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and how'd you find that one?
You.
Yeah, so with Ben, we got a good relationship. I had this suite, which was a pretty cool building. It was very unique. It was a 7-car garage out back. Had one building on it, had 3 units, but potential for 4, and then a single family all on the same parcel. I had the listing, I had it signed. Sometimes I'll send it out to my short list, and full disclosure, if I get one of my guys in it, I get both sides of the commission. If I get another agent in it, I only get one side, and I have a lot less control over the sale is what it comes down to. Now we've got 2 different agents going in on it. Did you get me these documents? Did you get me those? Versus, I do have a short list, and I'll send it to those guys that I know will close the deal. They're pretty reputable and really what they're looking for. Called up Ben, hey, what do you think of this deal? Let's go check it out. We looked at it, put an offer in right away. The seller's like, it's a little less than I wanted, but it works, and you were able to secure the deal. And it's a nice building. It's a nice asset. Right now I'm at just about 50 deals for the year sold, and about 20 of those were off market. And those were just simply deals I had that I sent out to individuals, and they wanted to scoop it up. So I'm not just saying I'm the only guy that can send you those deals. There's other realtors, there's other agents, there's other brokers out there that can supply you with those deals. And obviously, if you take it before it goes to market, you don't have as much competition. The whole world's not seeing it. Any questions on that? Good? Okay. This one here is going to be more towards the commercial brokerage side of things. So all these companies up here that you see, CBRE, Newmark, Marcus Millichap, Walker Dunlap, Gracefield, JLL, Cushman & Wakefield's pretty big around here in Capstone. Those are the big, just about national, some international brokerages around the country that are going to supply you with a lot of different deals. CBRE does a mix of multifamily, office, industrial. Newmark's really multifamily. So is Marcus and Millichap. Cushman & Wakefield does about everything. They're publicly traded. They're pretty known. Publicly traded, public. Marcus and Millichap, public as well. These are going to be big companies. So a lot of these companies that you see here, we have personal relationships with brokers that bring us deals in these markets. So when we're going down south or in the southeast looking for deals, we're going to figure out first who are the players in this market. So we could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are really players in that market. These 3 not in the market we're looking at. We're going to find out who all the brokers are, not just the top ones, because everyone can bring us a deal. And we're going to build relationships with those individuals. And that's helped us to get some pre-marketed deals like that 36 unit we had, but it just didn't end up working out. We got to see it before it went to market. So it's just as simple as it's a glorified real estate agent or these commercial brokers. Some of these guys have access to smaller deals, small multifamily, some of them, 300 plus unit deals. But again, these are the big players. These are the guys you're going to see in the major cities. And then the ones that we have, the best relationship with. Driving for dollars. So this is a big one. And I personally did this when I first started out in real estate. So there's an app called Deal Machine. And this is a pretty sweet app. So what it does is, you mount your phone up on your car somewhere where you can see it. You're driving through streets and you see a property you really like. You can actually just tap the address of the property and you don't have to do anything. And it's going to automatically save that address for you. And it's going to have the owner information. And we can kind of get into what it does later. This is a sweet tool. There's a free version and there's a paid version. I'm not sure off the top of my head what the difference is. But again, this is a great tool. I'll drive through neighborhoods I really like. I'll look for distressed properties because those are obviously the ones that have a little bit more meat on the bone for deals. I'll tap the address. When I get home, it compiles all of it in a spreadsheet on my computer, and I can then do what I want with that list, and I'll get into that a little bit farther. But that's essentially driving for dollars. I'll drive down the street. Okay, which ones have 2 electric meters on it? That's a duplex. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. It looks a little rough. It's in the area I like. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to take it down. Obviously, you can do this by looking at the house number and just writing down the street address, but this is just really simple because it's a tap of a button and it saves it to your database. And that's going to be obviously all off-market opportunities.
Yeah, and another helpful tip here on some of these where you're driving for dollars too is to stop and talk to the neighbors. Tell them you're interested in moving into the neighborhood, see what you can find out.
You might even get the owner's numbers. I've had that happen before, talking to neighbors. Okay, who lives over there? Do you have their number just so I can chat with them real quick? Yeah. And they give you that. With that data you get, you can either cold call them by pulling lists, or if you just go to the tax records, you can find out if they live there or if they're a landlord somewhere else, you can start sending them mailers. So there's 2 programs. This one's just with the post office. It's called EDDM, Every Door Direct Mail. So that's typically just, okay, if you're really trying to get one area, one neighborhood, one zip code, you can actually have mail sent out to all these addresses. You actually send it to the post office and they will then distribute it to all these guys' mailboxes. So when you get those postcards in the mail, this is usually what they're using, a program like this. They actually partner with the post office. REI print mail. This is one of those, sometimes if you have rental properties, you'll get, or if you have a house in the city, usually, you'll get like one of those little postcards. We buy houses cash fast as is. That's a lot of times where these guys are getting this from. So this program here, REI Print Mail, I personally used it and I've had a lot of success with it. So they'll pull lists for you. So for example, I gave them 2 zip codes I was interested in. It was like 13203 and 13206. I said, I'm looking for 2 to 4 families that have had ownership for 5 years or longer. Because if they've owned it for less than 5 years, odds are they're not going to sell it. They gave me a price. They let me pick out what I wanted the postcard to look like. And they sent all of them out for me, blessed them out. And I kid you not, I probably had like around 100 to 150 phone calls in like a 3-day period once these went out. And it was just constant people calling me saying, hey, I got your postcard in the mail. I'd possibly like to sell my house. What do you think it's worth? And And obviously I don't give them a value right there. I just talk to them, hey, it's cash, it's as is, I can close quick. How about we set up a time and I can come see the home? Oh, and by the way, do you have anything else you'd like to sell? And I pull up my notes, put them on speakerphone, and they start rallying off a bunch of properties they had. So now that one lead just turned into like 10 leads for me. And what I was able to do is go see these properties. If it was kind of like keep the best, sell the rest kind of thing. So the ones I really liked, I kind of looked at for myself and said, okay, I'll buy that one. I don't really like those. I could either wholesale it or I could just sell it as an agent. And being an agent just kind of made it a little bit easier for me. So this one guy, he's like, yeah, if you could sell it off market, I don't want all the showings. I don't want a lockbox. I don't want people in and out. So I just want really serious people. So again, I went to that short list, people that are pre-approved, had term sheets or proof of funds, and got this property sold. And come to find out, the guy's like, okay, I like what you did. Can you do it again for me on this other one? So I started selling a bunch of those properties. Most of them went off market. Some of the tougher ones, I gained his trust and he decided to list them with me. And we got rid of all this smaller stuff. Same thing with a few of these one-offs, off market. Here I can sell it to you for, I'll take less commission than you would if you listed it on the market, or okay, I'll sell to this guy and maybe I'll bump it up $5,000 and make a quick $5,000 to wholesale it. If you are interested in this program, I actually have a promo code that will get you 15% off. I don't get anything for it. It's just going to promote to you guys that you can use the program. So if anyone's interested in that, let me know. I can hook you up with my rep. It's a super helpful tool, and direct marketing has a lot of success. A lot of people do it. And that was just one round that my phone was kind of getting blown up by phone calls and text messages. People will usually send the same thing 3-4 times. So you start just kind of seeing it in the mail, you get familiar with the logo, and you build a little bit of trust, so to speak. So that's a good way, again, from going with that driving for dollars, finding that address, or having these guys pull a list for you, and then just executing on it. So doing the mailers, picking up the phone, cold calling. I mean, I have a buddy over in California who has 19 virtual assistants. All he does all day is pull lists and have them cold call all those houses. And they just go down the list. Once they're done, at the end of the year, they start through again. And he's either listing them or buying them. And he does like 23 to 25 transactions a year off of that. And, prices in California, and he's selling crappy homes for $600,000. Think about 3% commission on 600,000 times 25 just off of this program. So something to think about there. Wholesalers. So those are pretty big. There's a few wholesalers in the area, not a crazy amount by any means in New York. It's usually down south, there's more, but finding wholesalers, getting on their list and building a relationship with them. There's two pretty big ones over here. There's some in Rochester where, they're constantly sending out properties, or they have websites out there. So like HS Property Funds, I believe it is. Cisco's his last name. He's a big wholesaler around here. He probably puts out about 10 deals a month maybe. So he does a good amount, and he's doing the REI print mail. I get his postcards all the time for my rental properties, and it's not like he's targeting me. He's just targeting the area. And so I happen to fall in that standpoint with what he's got going on there. This book is really good if you're looking to learn how to wholesale. It's over on Amazon. It's got a few typos because it's self-published, but I actually know this gentleman, and he does a phenomenal job of wholesaling. I mean, if you're not looking to wholesale, but just looking to look at some marketing techniques, this book is great for that. I've been able to take away some tips, and it's really helped me with my marketing game. I think it's like $15, $20 on Amazon. Totally worth the read. I actually bought 2 and gave it to a buddy because I thought it was so good. But again, great book, lots of information in there. Bandit Science. So if you go out and you see those signs on the corner, we buy houses quick cash as is. I know it sounds kind of silly, but they work. People wouldn't do them if they didn't work. I see them all over Syracuse, and the person that puts them out there does a lot of volume because he's got these on every street corner. I mean, you can pick up signs if you're buying them in bulk for about $5 a sign. You can go online, you can Google New York State traffic map, find the intersections that have the most traffic count, and throw those signs up on those corners, to get the most exposure. Like, you're not really gonna go put a sign up 3 neighborhoods behind us here. You're gonna get like the same 10 people that live on that street. But like right out here in this intersection, this is a main street that probably has, call it 20 to 30,000 cars a day. That's a lot of exposure for $5. And maybe you put your company logo on there and then your phone number. It starts to build that credibility with your brand.
Yeah, so I think it's important too, Dante, to pay attention to sign ordinances. A lot of places don't like these signs.
Right.
There
Yep.
may be some communities that are actively taking them down. Some of the tips and tricks are to put them up high on a pole where people can't reach them. Put them up on the weekends, and if you don't want to lose them, take them down, Sunday night or early Monday morning. And just for clarification, that is not an actual phone number.
No, yeah, that is. I ordered a box of Bandit Signs actually when I was doing a bunch of deals for myself. I was looking to buy. I never ended up putting them up, so I've got like a box of like 10 in my garage. So like one of these days, I'm gonna have to like go out there and put it up, try to get some leads. Auctions, I do a lot of old timers. They go to auctions a lot. Auctions used to be a really big thing. Now it seems like it's all online. But I do know some people that have gone to auctions and got some killer deals. Ed over here, he's smiling because if you don't mind sharing, do you know roughly what you bought your house for, what you sold it for? Yeah, so he bought his house for $45,000 at auction. How much would you say you put into it? Did you guys do a roof on it?
We put a new roof and, which was like 6,000.
Okay, so new roofs for, so 45, call it 50 with closing costs, a roof for 6,000, and then we'll say another 4,000 for miscellaneous, so.
Like the floors and paint.
Exactly, some paint, some flooring, so let's say you're in it for 60, and then you sold it for, what was it? 89, so call it 90. So there's a prime example, bought a house at an auction, put a few dollars into it, and then made a great profit, and you got to live in it. And so, that's a.
Dante,
Yes.
this is Pat Goodyear. I've actually had experience twice now with auctions, one of which was Hubzu.
Okay.
And I picked up a property down on North Road in Tully, Lafayette. And I got it for $99,000 with 8 acres. And it was probably a 203 situation because I couldn't get a home equity line of credit on it. But I have people cold calling me all day long trying to buy it now. And I mean, yes, I did have to rehab some of it, but there's no doubt it's worth probably $250 at least now.
Yeah.
And I had another house that I was going to buy from an auction site, and I wish I could remember the name of it, the auction site. Might have even been auction.com. I know it was out in Kirkville, and one thing I will warn you is those online auctions, it's like gambling and it's not good. So I ended up getting bid up by the machine to way too high. And then by the time I realized that, fortunately, I was able to get out of it because they had removed the pole barn and some of the other items that were in the photos. So in the end, they had to refund my earnest money, but those were my experiences with auction.
Yeah, I mean, Hubzu or the name of it, that's a pretty good one. The podcast guest we have coming up, she purchased a few homes off of that and has made a killing. Who else I'm trying to think? I mean, you have to be careful with the auction. It's more for the more experienced investor. Obviously, don't go out and grab your first deal with that. If you are, bring someone that's experienced with you, especially if you only get like kind of one walkthrough, maybe bring a contractor with you. But if you're buying online, you got to be pretty careful with that. DJ, is Tiago on here? Because I know he bought some rental properties, not from an auction, but an online website. Is he on here?
I see his name up if he can get to his unmute button.
Yes, I'm here, Aidan.
Tiago, what was the name of that website that you bought some property from?
Roofstock.
Roofstock, that's what it is. So Roofstock's a pretty good one. We don't have too much of it around here, but Chad, would you want to like just quick talk a little bit about it just so people can get a better idea of what that offers? I know it's not auction, but it's similar.
No. So it's a website that it's built for out-of-state investors, and the idea is to give confidence on the deal itself to off-state investors. So they show you upfront, for example, the inspection, the appraisal value. They give you the lease rolls, and the idea there is really to list as much as possible already rented houses.
Right,
And
it's very turnkey.
And they go to next level, and they have two clauses that I think it's a little bit stunning. The first one is they give you 30 days on which you can return the property if you don't like it, anything. So no questions asked, you can return the property. And the second one is that if you're buying a house that is not rented, they will give you 45 days to be able to do it. If not, they will pay you the rent that they advise.
So there's no tenant in there. So I mean, this is a pretty cool program. If you don't like it, you just keep your receipt and you can return the house. I mean, that's legitimate. And so, like Tiago was saying, it's to give those investors that confidence that they're out of state. So if I'm over here and I want to go invest in Arizona, it's very tough for me to travel back and forth. But if I go to buy a property from this website, maybe I'm paying a little bit of premium, not always, but you get the inspection so you can see what's wrong with the home. It's going to have tenants in it. You're going to get a lot of info on it. So it's another website that just gives you a little bit more confidence.
I was going to say Roofstock just took over Stessa, which is an online property management app that's free to landlords. But it's the app Stessa has been out for quite some time, probably at least 4 years, and they just acquired it and took that app over. Yeah,
and it's a great app. I mean, I have clients that use Stessa. When I was doing some self-managing stuff, I used Stessa to stay a little bit more organized. There's another website that a buddy of mine has called Martell Turnkey. He basically, what he'll do is he'll go into cities that have a lot of growth. He'll start buying a bunch of property. He'll send contractors in, rehab them, put a tenant in place, property management in place, and sell it 100% turnkey. And he'll tell you what your return on investment is if you're doing X amount % down. He'll even set you up with some funding. So that's Martell Turnkey. He was pretty low on inventory about a year ago, but I'm pretty sure he built that back up again. He's a pretty reputable guy. If you guys need that contact, I can send that to you as well. But that's, those are some tools that you can use to diversify your portfolio in different markets, different asset types.
Yeah, and Dante, I think what we're saying about auctions is these things are complex and there is risk involved. So if you're considering auction, read up on it, study it, get with people who have done it before. Don't just wing this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do auctions just because it doesn't make me comfortable. I'm kind of overkill when it comes to buying a property. I'm very diligent about the due diligence process. So auctions just don't sit well with me. I know people that have bought houses in auctions or whatnot for like $9,000 and they literally tore the foundation out and had to put a new foundation. Not because they didn't know it had that, but because the price, they kind of knew they were going to have to do that and they budgeted for it. So just be careful with those ones.
Are all the auctions, there are different types of auctions, right?
There are, I don't even know all of them, but there's different websites. There's auctions on the MLS that are on there as well. So like if you get with an agent that has REO, so real estate owned property, so foreclosures, they represent the auctioneer website or whoever it is. You can go see the property as many times as you want, just like a regular showing. And then they have a final date that you can put bids in. And then it is what it is. You do it online. So
yeah, and there are some states are still doing the auctions live, either at the courthouse and such. They're not all online, is my understanding of how it works.
I think it depends on what type of auction too, because if you're doing a tax foreclosure, a tax auction, those are run by the county or the city. Whereas if you're doing like a foreclosure auction, which is what a lot of these auction.com, Hubzoo, there's a couple other ones, you have to log in and be vetted before they'll let you bid. But a lot of them are owner occupied still, so you can't walk through them.
Right.
They'll say, don't go on the property. I mean, they make it very clear. And there is a buyer's premium. And the one thing that, and you should, like they were saying, research it, because they will give you like a quick claim deed, but the machine actually bids up the price. So in other words, you may think you're bidding against someone, but it's almost like being at the turning stone. You get caught up in it and you're like right down to the wire, and another bid, which is most often the machine bidding, bids you up, and it can happen pretty quickly. And it's usually always cash or private financing. You don't get mortgages for these.
Yeah, you typically can't finance them. And one of the podcast guests we have coming up, she talked about how it had a 30-day close. And so she had 30 days to get financing, and she didn't have a financing contingency. So if she couldn't get financing, she's still out of her earnest money, but she had hard money lined up in the back end. So to kind of cover her until she could get total financing on the project. I've actually never, well, I've never been to an actual auction. So they had an auction like 2 months ago, right next to our building. There's a firehouse over here, the old Manlius Firehouse. And so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna buy it, but let's go check it out. Like, who's gonna buy it? What are they gonna pay? And what do they plan on doing with it? And so it's like Roofstock auctioneer was the guy who did it. And there was probably 20 people there. They had seats lined up. Dude, super old fashioned, pants up to his nipples. And, you know, he had the microphone on and he brought speakers and he's just real mouthy with how he was chatting. And it was just crazy. You got this dump of a firehouse. I mean, this place is awful. Whatever you're doing with it, you have to gut it. And here we are starting at like 50,000 and the place went for like 600 grand with a 10% premium on top of it for the auctioneer. So technically they're paying 660. I mean,
Dante, I don't know if you mentioned this, but the city posts delinquent taxes in the paper.
we got that slide coming up. So hold up.
Say again?
We've got that slide coming up, so hold up.
Oh, shut up then.
No, you're fine. But it was cool watching the auction because you had like these three guys just kind of standing in the back of the room and they're like 500, 505, 510, and they just like kind of kept going. And it went on for about an hour and I just stuck around because I want to see what it finished off for. But it was honestly a sweet spot. You got the lawnmower with it too, and it stayed with the building. But it had garages on the first floor, and they're probably gonna do apartments on the second floor. So I thought it would be cool, you know, those roll-up doors. Do a restaurant when it's really nice out in the summer. Hit those roll-up doors, put some outside seating, a patio, and then maybe some apartments or condos up top. So it is prime real estate. You know, you're right in the village of Manlius. Your taxes are gonna be killing you for like probably $30,000 to $50,000 a year, depending on where it hits. But it was cool to just see how the auction worked and not the mayor, one of the gentlemen that runs the board in Manlius was there and he had to approve the sale. Like you couldn't go in there and put a strip club in there. He'd have been like, no, like that's not happening in the village of Manlius. So pretty cool, but auctions, again, just be careful. 3 spots, Craigslist, Facebook, Bigger Pockets. So Bigger Pockets, if you don't know, has actually a listing page. So there's actually a tab on there you can go to and put listings on there and you can see what people have for sale. I mean, in Syracuse, there's probably 30 properties up there right now. Facebook Marketplace, there's a lot on there as well. That's where you're gonna see like for sale by owners on Facebook Marketplace a lot. And then Craigslist. Craigslist is, you know, an age-old tool that people have used forever, but there is a lot of inventory on there as well. I was looking for a lot to do some possible building, and it was a really nice neighborhood, and they didn't have any lots for sale. I found the neighborhood on Craigslist because I was looking through Craigslist, looking for lots, and this guy had one for sale. Why he had on the MLS, I'm not really sure, because he's a real estate agent. So that was just kind of silly, but I found the lot through Craigslist. Never thought I'd go on Craigslist ever because Facebook Marketplace kind of takes over, but they're really good spots for that. For sale by owner.
Hey, one tip, Dante, too, on the Facebook Craigslist is you call up people that are advertising rental properties, and this helped me generate a lot of leads, is you call them up and you say, hey, look, I'm interested actually in buying properties. I understand you got a vacant one, and ask them if they have any other properties or know of anybody else. Maybe they're not interested in selling, maybe they are, but that's a great lead when you have a vacant property because you have a landlord who doesn't have a tenant.
Yeah, and it might just be a burnt out landlord that's just like, I can't get this place rented. I'm 80 years old. I've made my money. I'm done. Like, I'll sell it. Kind of going back to the Bandit Science, this one's pretty funny. So a buddy of mine, I believe he's in Arkansas. He buys up a lot of stuff off market. He does a lot of the lists and cold calling and Bandit Signs. And there's a few properties that he couldn't get a hold of the owner. So he put a for sale sign on their front yard with his number on it. And the dude called him and was like, why is there a for sale sign on my front yard? He's like, well, I'm trying to buy your property and you wouldn't call me. So I figured that'd get your attention. And sure enough, the dude called him and he ended up buying a house. So I don't advise always doing that. He was kind of a smart aleck, but it worked and he got a deal out of it. For sale by owners, Zillow has a whole section on their website of for sale by owners. And there is quite a few investment properties up there or single families. It's a great section. I've contacted some people over there and not a lot of people look in the for sale by owner section. Like if you are just looking for a house maybe for yourself and you're on Zillow because you're looking at inventory, it defaults to only showing actual on-market listings. It doesn't show for sale by owners right out of the gate. A lot of times you have to go in, change that filter so you can see those properties. It just depends on how you had Zillow set up. Or for sale by owner signs all over the place. So like Bandit Science, you'll see for sale by owner signs. Over in Sedgwick, there was a 2-family a few years ago that was for sale by owner. I went and, called the guy. He ended up being there. He was like doing some painting. I went over and checked it out. He wanted more than, it was a little too rich for my taste, but there was an opportunity that I could have bought a duplex that was off market and no one had access to unless they, called the sign. And not a lot of people are always driving on that street. It's a quieter street. Expired listings. So like I said, one of the properties I burned, it was an expired listing. That's how I found it. Obviously, if you're not a real estate agent, you don't have access to expired listings, but you can simply call me up and just say, hey, I like this zip code. I'm looking for 2 units in this zip code at this price point. Is there anything that hasn't sold over there? I've got no problem sending you a list of expired properties in that zip code. And then you can do what you please with them. If you want to bring me in to help you out, I can. If you just want the properties, go to the tax records, check out what they have to offer. And so you're basically seeing their address or their name, you can skip trace it. So a website I like to use is called truepeoplesearch.com. You can type in a phone number and it'll give you who their name is, where they live, their address and their age, or if you have their property address, you just put in their property address, the tax address, they'll tell you who they are and their phone number. And that's how I get a hold of a lot of people a lot of times. Like that lot you told me about the other day. I put in the address, I matched up the guy's name. Sure enough, got his phone number, got a hold of his house. He's like, hey, I can't answer the phone. He said his name, so I knew I had his number. So I'll just keep trying it until he picks up. So that's skip tracing, is basically taking their info, filling in the blank, and then trying to find what X is basically.
Skip tracing?
Yep, skip tracing is what it's called, but truepeoplesearch.com is the website. Completely free, great tool to have. So again, getting an expired list, then working backwards, putting in the address, finding the tax records and to get that address, and then just putting it into True People Search to get their info. LoopNet and Craigslist, that's gonna be more the commercial real estate side. The commercial real estate uses the MLS, but a lot of it doesn't fall onto the MLS. So LoopNet and Craigslist are gonna be that one that fills the gap, that fills the void. I'm not gonna mention what it is yet, but I found a really cool property on LoopNet that I have a purchase offer in for that hopefully will get negotiated this week, but I would have never found it if it wasn't for LoopNet. There's many different types of properties out there: industrial, retail, special use, multifamily. There's even single families and 2 families up on there, believe it or not. And a lot of great info on LoopNet. Craigslist is starting to come into the marketplace, fill that presence up a little bit more, and have a lot more inventory. It just seems like, it's kind of making the switch, like MySpace to Facebook kind of thing. It's just out with the old, in with the new. And that's, again, gonna be more your commercial, but you can find some residential on that side. Meetings, meetups and networking, like we're doing here. That's gonna be a good place to kind of talk with some investors as well. A gentleman I met that I've sold 6 of his properties now, I met at a meetup. So, I had a meetup like this. He came over, was chatting. Hey, and I'm thinking about selling these properties, built that relationship with him over time, was able to sell 6 of his properties. If I was in the buying stage, maybe I could have bought all 6 of these properties, but because I was networking, I was able to meet this individual. And you guys can do the same. A lot of you guys will hang out after, kind of chit chat and, build that network. Meetup.com, by the way, is the website. It's not to find a date, it's to find other people to hang out with. So like, I play soccer, so I have a soccer meetup group. So I play pickup with some people. I put this event sometimes. If I'm not being lazy, I'll put it up on meetup.com and some people will come from that. So that's a pretty cool spot as well to find some events in your area. Delinquent tax records. Pat, I'll let you take it from here. I know you're pretty eager, so I'll let you talk on this one if you can hear me.
Yeah, all I was going to mention is one of the deals that I got was a situation where a tenant, or actually my babysitter's daughter's boyfriend, hadn't paid his taxes on his grandmother's house in years. And he had listed it and they had an offer, but the problem was the guy didn't want to move forward because he knew it was going on tax auction. So what I ended up doing was offering to pay the tax bill, and he had till the end of the year. It was like October, so he had like 2 months to pay it back with 10,000 fee. And I had his lawyer write everything up. And if he didn't pay it back or he couldn't sell it, then I had the option to buy it for 65, and including the money off I had already paid. So in the end, I ended up getting the house out in Lakeland for 65 that was listed for 90. And I still get cold calls on. He lives in it. I rent it back to him. But, it was another opportunity to get a really good deal and still give him the opportunity to clear it if he could get it sold, which I think the person who put the offer in was just waiting for the auction personally.
Yeah, so I mean, like tax delinquencies, that's a good spot as well. So if you guys are familiar with the Syracuse Land Bank, I actually met with someone that used to run the Syracuse Land Bank last week, and he was explaining to me how it works. Basically, if you're delinquent on taxes, the city takes it back. The Syracuse Land Bank is kind of partnered with the county. They'll buy it from the county for $1, just because it has to be some form of transaction, and then they'll market it out. So SyracuseLandBank.com, their website, that's another spot if you're looking in the city. Most likely going to be a very rundown home, but it has some opportunity there. Again, I had a buddy that picked up one for $10,000 and completely renovated the whole thing, and now he's getting $1,600 aside in this duplex.
The land bank does have a lot of requirements, though, just FYI. And if you do decide to buy one through there, I would talk to other investors that have done that, because they have certain requirements of who you can sell it to, within certain income limits, and they have a certain project list of what they expect to be done in order to fix it.
Yeah, lots of strings attached. Like I had a buddy who bought a single family from the land bank. He did a bunch of work to it, and they actually forced him to sell it. They told me he had to sell the property. I wasn't sure the exact reason, but he was okay with it because he got it for a good price, put some money into it, but he was able to sell it at a decent profit. So that's something else you got to keep in mind when you're working with programs that have grants in them, or they're connected with the county or the state. There's a lot of strings attached sometimes, but you can get good deals in there. Cold calling. So this is, Wolf Wall Street like that. Those lists that you get is cold calling. So again, like when I was early on in my real estate investing career, I grabbed a lot of lists. I did the driving for dollars, and I used the skip tracing to get these people's number. And I didn't want to have to hire an assistant or hire a virtual assistant to do it. So there would be days where I just compiled all the data in a spreadsheet. And I would just continue I believe the program was called Podio. You can put in a spreadsheet, put it in there, and you can track, have you called them, have they called you back, put in notes, keep track of all that. And that's all I was doing. Hey, I drove by, you have a really nice house, kind of butter them up. It was really terrible. And, if you're interested in selling, I'd like to purchase it. I have cash, I'll buy it as is. All you have to do is kind of walk away from it, and I'll write you a check, is what it comes down to. And that's that cold calling. You just got to get used to it. And it's a numbers game. You're calling, and you're getting either no answers, or if you ever call this number again, I'll kill you. Like I've gotten that before too. Just like, so you just kind of keep moving forward. The cold calling, it is, it's not the best method because it kind of turns you off to the whole thing, because you just get so many no's. But once you get that one yes, it's usually worth it. I mean, is it worth making 500 phone calls to find a property that you can make a $20,000 profit on? Usually the answer is yes, but do you have the time to be making all of those phone calls and making that happen? So again, like I was talking about, my buddy that, gets these lists, and he has 19 virtual assistants around the clock calling these people, he's gotten a lot of results from that. So that's something else you guys have to look at. Out of curiosity, anyone on here or in the room, do you guys have any other ideas of sourcing leads? I'd kind of like to hear and learn from you guys too. Anyone have anything successful that they've done? I know I have like 19 slides here of stuff that I've used or clients have used.
That they're willing to give away.
Yeah, anything you're willing to give away? What have you guys done to find some deals?
I just tell everyone I'm looking to buy houses.
There you go.
And then someone will come to me and say, hey, I noticed the house that I drive to work is up for for sale.
That's a pretty expensive way to do it. I mean, how much does that cost you?
Oh, man, my time is worth a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like that's another thing, constantly going around and just telling everyone what you're doing. You know, go to a family reunion, go to hang out with some friends. What have you been up to lately? I've been buying a bunch of real estate. Oh, that's great. My grandma just passed away and I have her house to sell. Like, you know, something like that, just letting everyone know what you're doing. That's a pretty decent way.
Yeah, and think of people you know that are out in neighborhoods constantly. Postal workers, UPS, Amazon delivery, you know, make friends with them, right? You know, there's the whole bird dogging thing if you want to pay them, which isn't legal, but you know, they might turn you on to some leads just through a discussion.
Ben, would you?
My cousin who bought a lot of property, the way he did it is he built a relationship with a pretty small bank. It was Oneida Savings before it got bought by Community. And I work for American. When we do bank-owned property, we won't sell it. It has to go through a real estate agent because of the conflict of interest.
Yep.
But some smaller banks, I don't know what, there's probably like Get a Savings, there's a lot of mortgages in the area. They may find, like if they have someone that they know is gonna buy properties, they'll sell them right to that individual.
Yeah, Seneca, Fulton, maybe Fulton Savings, like some smaller local
So
banks.
small, like if you go to like a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, good luck.
Right.
You're not gonna find it, but if you go to the small ones, that's where you might have some luck finding, because he bought probably 4 or 5 properties from Seneca, Oneida before they switched, because they knew they bought it to buy it.
Right, and that
This is all
costs
we
you.
need for it, because, you know, they just need to recoup what they have the mortgage left on it. So he got some really, really inexpensive properties.
Yeah, and it cost him $0 to get those leads, is really what it was, just kind of building that relationship. And like other people, like your attorney, if you're used to buy your home, a real estate attorney, they're gonna have leads all the time. Like my attorney constantly brings me stuff. It's like, hey, this person's looking to sell the house. Do you want to give them a call, or here's their number? And it just depends. Do I want it? Do I know someone that wants it? Or do I want to go sell it and tell them I want to list it? That's another thing you can do as well. Your attorney, your CPA, even your lender, whoever you're getting your mortgage through. Who have you worked with that, you know, contacted you, letting them know that they want to sell their house? Maybe they got a payoff letter to see what the payoff is on the home. And maybe you can hit that before they go to sell it. So those are some other good ways. Anything else? Anyone have some good strategies? Yep.
You mentioned small banks. Are small credit unions interested in financing homes, you know, through, you know, eventually to become a rental property, or are they not really interested? I know AmeriQ is interested. I mean, they're a much larger credit union, but like the small town credit union.
Yeah, so it just depends. I mean, Ben, you could probably touch on this, but like from what I've heard, and you can correct me again, credit unions have or portfolio lenders, so people that keep them on the books, lenders that keep them on their books and lend their own money. They've got a big pot of money, and typically each year they'll say, okay, we want X amount of dollars towards industrial, X amount towards multifamily, X amount towards retail or percentage, and they want to fill those pots just so they can be diversified according to what they want to do. Last year, I'm sure student rental was probably a very small pot a lot of lenders wanted to fill, or some lenders didn't do them at all because, you know, with COVID, all the college kids were leaving, there was a lot of vacancies. Same thing with like retail, probably wasn't a big one they were lending on. So usually credit unions are going to do it because multifamily or apartments is a pretty safe investment. Everyone needs their own. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Right, but Dante, to be clear, you know, I think distressed properties that you're not going to live in, their rules will be similar to the banks. So, you know, just a footnote on that one.
Yeah, and you want to talk to them and just be very, you know, upfront with them. This is a turnkey rental. It's in really good shape. Obviously, you're going to appraise it, and if it passes your appraisal, you guys can lend on it. So credit unions do want to lend on this stuff. I mean, Ben, you could talk a little bit about this. What do credit unions like to do about, you know, rental properties?
Credit unions are different depending on the size. Like AmeriQ, we have a commercial lending division that I work
A
for.
little bit louder, just like
AmeriQ has a commercial lending division where we lend to, and you know, we lend on investment properties, but it's not all the same. AmeriQ is in like the top 2% as far as credit union size. We're pretty small as far as a financial institution. But if you go to like a Syracuse cooperative, they have like 2 locations. They're one of the few that I know has a commercial lending division, but most of them don't even do that. So the smaller ones won't have that. So you may see on their residential side, if they portfolio mortgages, those are the ones where you can probably find where they're gonna have a lot of real estate and stuff, because if they portfolio it, it's not gonna get sold after they do the mortgage. So they're gonna be the ones owning that property and need to sell it. So you're gonna see like what happens is if they do like a traditional mortgage, like an FHA, it gets sold off to Fannie Mae and they don't even service it anymore. So if it gets foreclosed on, then they're not gonna have anything to do with it. So it's if they have like a special lending program, they're gonna own a lot of those properties, and there's a higher chance that they're gonna own more real estate that they want to get rid of.
Yeah, so Gavin, I would just say if it's someone you're looking to do lending with, just, go to their department, ask them, would you guys lend on this type of property? They'll be very upfront. Does that kind of answer your question, Gavin?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. Again, any other strategies you guys have for finding properties, anyone online, or even any questions what we talked
Dante,
about?
one of the things I think has worked for me, and I've been doing this since '96, is if you buy enough properties and you're listed on those tax rolls, it gives you at least some credibility. And one of the ones I recently came across, my last property I purchased, was on Albert Road over near Nottingham area. And I had left a note on the door of the property 3 years ago and just consistently followed up with the owners because it was a parents had died and they were clearing the house situation. And then they called me last September and said, we're ready to sell, and basically sold the house, the lot, the attached lot, everything for $150. And the selling point for me, and I guess, that can be considered steep for a house, but yet it's in a beautiful neighborhood and has a lot of value, is the fact that it's a cash deal. There's no inspection. We can close whenever you want. You don't have to show it. You don't have to fix it up. You can leave whatever things you want to leave in it. I'll deal with it. So the idea of it being hassle-free and like some credibility with the fact I already own these many properties, so I'm not bullshitting. I can do this. This deal is not foreign to me. Really, I think helps when it comes to that, because even with the buyer's market we were experiencing last fall, there are still people that would just rather get rid of it and be done than deal with the process of showing and listing and everything else.
Yeah, peace of mind and like convenience is really what it comes down to, like how easy you make it. Do you have a question? I thought you raised your hand. Okay. So just kind of curious, raise of hands. Did you learn tonight a new way to find a deal? Out of curiosity, raise your hand if you did, something you never heard of. Okay, that makes me feel good. Every single person raised their hand. I mean, that's all we want to get out of this, is just to bring some value to you guys. And if you guys can find one deal out of something like this and make some money off it, that makes us happy at the end of the day. Anyone have any questions on Zoom or any other ways that you guys are finding deals or anything we can help with there?
Can you send out this slideshow?
Yes, if you put your email in the chat, DJ, if you can capture that for me so we can send it out to him, we can do that. And if anyone else wants that here, let me know. Out of curiosity, and you guys on Zoom can do this as well, what are some other topics you guys would like to hear? What are some presentations you guys would like to have? Are there any type of guest speakers you guys would like to have come in to talk about anything? What do you guys have? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm really interested. You might remember, came with me a couple times when I talked to you about commercial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested with things, the economy building back up into commercial things. For example, a lot of people who here right now, I remember, there used to be an IHOP right up here,
Mm-hmm.
right across the street from that firehouse.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That building is vacant now. So I'm interested to talk about more commercial stuff,
Okay.
building up the Syracuse economy, building up the Syracuse market. So I'd like to discuss some things like that. See if we could.
Okay. So
the
some more.
part of the situation is we, as real estate investors, are want to
Right, really build up the economy. Okay.
Right.
So you're looking for more commercial stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, for me personally, the residential is nice, but I feel like me personally, I can't speak for everybody else, but from my perspective, you own commercial, you own a piece of the world.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to get get some more insight on that instead of having to call people and.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, different
You know what I'm
strategy.
saying?
So like LoopNet and Craigslist, that's probably gonna be a good tool for you to see some more commercial stuff. DJ, kind of be like jotting these down, these ideas if you can. I mean, I think
Yep.
commercial is great and it diversifies your portfolio completely. I mean, large multifamily is considered commercial, but you can also have mixed use. So maybe something down below on that first floor and then some residential up top. I think commercial is a great tool, and a lot of real estate investors that are worth millions and billions of dollars do a large sum of commercial, because if you do it right, there's a lot of money to be had there. So commercial real estate definitely got you on that.
One last question.
Yeah.
So you just said if the multifamily is large enough, it can be considered a commercial. Large enough like how large?
So anything over 4 units in a bank size is considered commercial, and usually an insurance size, it's all commercial. The cool thing about large multifamily though, is in the IRS's eyes, it's considered residential. So it depreciates on a residential schedule of depreciation instead of commercial. So so for this building, for example, this is strictly commercial. There are apartments up top, so you'd have to talk to like a CPA of like how this gets depreciated. But for the most part, let's just say this first area of this building exists, all offices, or like Cafe Kabul across the street. That's commercial, so they're gonna depreciate that over 39 years. The apartments across the street over there, because people sleep there at night and they take showers and they go to the bathroom, like they hang out over there, that's gonna be seen as residential in the IRS's eyes. So I can depreciate that over 27.5 years. I wanna depreciate quicker because I get more of a tax benefit on multifamily than I do commercial, but commercial is a very different asset. So for example, you guys know the Chipotle over on Erie Boulevard, at the end of Erie Boulevard?
Yes.
That's for sale right now. 2.6 million, that building's all yours. That also is a 4% cap rate, but like that building's gonna get depreciated over 39 years. And that's gonna be, you know, in the IRS's eyes what commercial is, and that's a totally different play. Like someone that's selling a 1031 exchange might go park all their money over there, get like a roughly 4 to 5% return on their investment, depreciate the building, get some tax benefits. That's the play they'll make over there. Versus in, you know, the multifamily, you're probably looking for more cash flow. You're gonna take out some pretty good debt on it. And like a building like that over there, you can get like a 30-year mortgage on that. Versus like that building, Cafe Kabul or this one, you can only get like 20 to 25 years on debt on those buildings. So it's very different. Does that kind of answer your question? I know I went all over with it.
No, that brought up another question I had.
Yep.
I'm sorry for taking up.
No, you're good.
Damn, I just lost my train of thought. What was you just talking?
We'll circle back to you. We're talking about depreciation, if that brings back any thought. You're good, you're good. If you hit it.
It's been a long day, bro.
Yeah, I hear you,
Yeah, so Dante, recommendations we got through the chat, how to scale your business. Pat put in managing efficiently. Pat, are you talking about rentals or flips with that?
I don't think she's in here anymore. She's not, but she's talking
Okay.
about rentals. I called her today. We're having a
Okay,
conversation.
I would assume it is. Tiago also put commercial, so certainly a desire for commercial. We love talking commercial.
We do.
And how to purchase out of town properties, Lolita.
Okay, and then I just saw one, how you guys underwrite properties.
Yep.
We did like
Yep.
one about underwriting. We'll probably do another one again because that one's pretty big. Do you have something? I think you had something. Yes.
Maybe like raising funds or partnerships.
Okay, raising funds, partnerships. Do you want to write that down? That's definitely, you know, raising funds. We can definitely talk about that one for the projects that we do. Yes.
Yeah, I remember my question. So for example, say me personally, I own several multi-family, right?
Mhm.
You just said that the building with Chipotle is considered. If I wanted to step my game up and I wanted to purchase that building,
Mhm.
but as an accredited investor, I'm using the right terms, I want to do it alone. I don't want,
Any partners or anything? I just want
I
to
don't
take
want
it
all
down.
my ships with the dip. I don't want to shit.
Right.
If that's the situation, what requirements do I need to be in that position?
To purchase the building or get financing or?
Right.
So to get financing in a building like that, they're gonna look at your assets a little bit more. They're gonna look at your income if it's just yourself and you're kind of getting started. That's kind of a stretch to take down since, you know, 2.6 million, they're gonna want probably 25% down on a building like that. You can buy anything yourself, is what it comes down to. But like maybe on a commercial building, you get seller financing, so you don't have to put 25% down. Maybe you could say, okay, you guys hold the note on the building, so you guys, you know, put 25% down for me. You guys have that invested interest, and I go find a lender that's gonna do 75% loan to value. that's 100% loan to value. You can own that building with no money except for closing costs and maybe some, phase one environmental, something like that. But then you have to look at, if I'm 100% loan to value, what's my mortgage payment gonna look like versus the rent?
Crazy.
Right, that's the thing. So I'm pretty sure their rent over there is 110,000 divided by 12. So they pay about almost 10 grand a month to be in that building, Chipotle. So if your mortgage payment is more or close to that 10,000, maybe it's not worth it because the debt is too high on that. But on that building, I think you had to put like 50% down for it to make sense, to get your debt payment low enough for that rent to make you a profit. So that play again is going to be more maybe like an institutional lender that they'll own 100 Chipotles around the nation. And yeah, maybe they have 50% down on each building, but they're making like 4 to 5% of their money. They can make much cheaper returns and be okay with that than like you and I. Like you and I, we probably want to see like 8, 10, 12%, where that's building's only spitting off like 4 or 5%. It's a super low risk because Chipotle has a 20-year lease. They're not going anywhere, and they're like a AAA credit, tenant that's not going to be going anywhere. So that's like the value built there. Where you and I, we want like a multifamily asset that has 1-year leases, so we can improve it. We can get those returns. So like again, those private equity or those Wall Street guys that buy real estate, they can stomach those low returns, so they can buy a building with that. Where like you and me, it wouldn't really make sense to buy. No maintenance, because Chipotle doesn't take care of anything. It's triple net lease. So they're in charge of, taxes, insurance, all that fun stuff. But it's just residential. It just wouldn't make sense. So maybe like down the road, if I've got like a chunk of equity that I'm just trying to place, like if I've got 50% of 2 million, let's say the building's 2 million, and I've got $1 million I'm sitting on in a few years. Instead of it sitting in my checking account, losing value because inflation's up the wazoo, where we're gonna be paying $10 for a loaf of bread soon, I can go put it in a Chipotle, make 4 or 5%, and it's in line plus a little bit over inflation. And it's in a new building and it has a lot of less risk because I know Chipotle's not going anywhere because of that lease. That's the difference. And then you can get ground leases, but that's totally different too, where you just own the land, and then whoever's renting the building, they own the building, but they can't bring it with them. So like, for example, McDonald's is the largest real estate company in the world because they own every piece of land all their properties are on. And they just lease the building back to like the I want to say operator, that's what Chipotle calls it.
Franchisees.
Franchisees, thank you. So that's just a whole different route. So does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a little disappointing to hear that because
It is.
someone in my position, you had a meeting before where you talked about having a lot of partners. I'm the only child and I don't like to share.
Right.
So a bunch of partners. So for someone in my position, it seems like if I want to be in a position where I could be a franchisee or operator or whatever, I've got a long road ahead of me.
It is. It's building up to that. Like a lot of people, it's the stacking method, starting out with a few singles, then trade those up for some duplexes, then maybe trade those in for some eightplexes. But like, for example, there's a building downtown, like in a prime real estate in downtown, that's like 4 or 5 units for about 600,000 right now. That's something that you maybe can get into, get like a good tenant downstairs for a storefront, and then maybe turn the upper units into some residential, or just make them into, again, some more businesses or some offices. That's how you can get involved with some commercial. So you're gonna look for more of that local niche, those smaller businesses that are only paying like a few thousand a month for a rental.
Probably like a small business or a local business, not something that's like franchise.
Right, no chain. That's gonna be very difficult to touch. And again, that's those larger private equity funds that they get $10 to $100 million a month that they have to go buy real estate and lend out and get a very small return. And that.
As a lender, there's certain things you look at too that, like, we have to get special permission from our loan committee to finance office space right now.
Yep.
Because it's so in flux with what's going on with COVID. We don't know if people are gonna go back to offices or stay at home and work. So we're not sure if we're gonna finance it. So there's, like, every industry, you're not sure what you're gonna run into with it. So there's additional risk with that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to, a lender has that big pot and they've got, industrial, retail, multifamily, office, special use, and there's only so many funds they want to allocate to each one to mitigate the risk. Like right now, multifamily is probably a safer bet. So therefore they're doing a lot of lending on multifamily. But like Ben was saying, like, it has to go to committee because maybe they say, okay, we've got like 40% of our portfolio is office and half those spaces are vacant, we don't really want any more of that right now. There's a high risk associated with that. Versus again, like going back to like Chipotle or like a Starbucks, those guys sign like 20 to 30-year leases, and they're like the best credit lenders or the best tenants you can get because they're reputable, they're public, they're huge, they've been around forever. That's going to be like a safe investment. They're like, oh, we'll lend on that all day. But if there's only like a year or two left on the lease, that price is going to be a lot less because you don't know if they're going to stay. They're probably going to stay, but you don't know if they're going to stay, if they're going to relocate to a newer building or something like that. There's a lot of risk there because if a Chipotle goes vacant, who's going to go occupy that space that's built out for a Chipotle? You know, not a lot of people. If you have someone like Dunkin' Donuts come in, you probably have to do a different build out inside to fit what they're looking for and fit their brand. You can't have an office move in because you've got a whole kitchen built. So there's different risks associated with each asset. And again, it's that timeline of what the lease is written for.
You seem to know a lot about risk management. Do you assess that type of thing on work with leases? Or?
I mean, just like mentally, I'm just like, they only have a year left on their lease. That's a lot of risk because they can leave. I mean, I just kind of look at different scenarios and see what makes sense. Like if I'm buying a multifamily building and there's, let's say, 8 units, and all of the 8-unit leases or all of those units have their leases coming up within like a month of each other, I could possibly have 8 turnovers in that 1 month. That's a lot of risk to me because now I'm looking at these guys, if they all leave and I have 8 turnovers and I have 8 vacancies, I'm forking out all those expenses, taxes, insurance, debt service. But if I have like, you know, them scattered out maybe every other month or one every 1 month or one every 2 months, that mitigates my risk a little bit more because I can, you know, focus on that and I can make sure, okay, what do you guys need to incentivize to stay? Do you need a new microwave? Okay, I'll go buy a microwave for $100, go throw it in there. I don't have to worry about that vacancy. I can go to the next one. So that's something, you know, when we look at, excuse me, larger multifamily assets, there's a thing called a rent roll you'll look at. And that is a list of every person in each unit, how much they pay, what square footage their building or their unit is, when their lease started and when it ends. If I'm looking at that rent roll on 100 units, and again, it's kind of like with 8 units, if like 70 of them are in like a 2-month span of each other, that's a lot of work the property management's going to be doing to either keep those tenants, or let's say half of those 70, so 35 of them all vacate. You got to turn over 35 units in 1 month. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of contractors that have to be turning over those units. So I want to like kind of space them out. And then like maybe all of them expire in December. Well, that's a nightmare because that's the holiday season. No one wants to really move in during the holiday season. So let's say someone plans on moving out. Now I got a vacant unit for probably 2 months until February or March, maybe when the school year ends. So it's just always looking at each asset, different asset, and kind of thinking about where is my risk associated with. So just mitigating that risk. And that's what we do all the time with our investments. We look at them and we offer according to what we think. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and we always equate risk too to upside. So if you're going to take some risks, you want to make sure you get rewarded for that. So, you know, I learned this through my industry experience where, you know, we do these turnkey design build jobs, and we go in with a proposal at a certain price and a certain scope, and the owner would say, okay, we like everything, but we want to impose liquidated damages. Well, that's more risk on us. So our deal didn't have liquidated damages. So we can take that on, but our price is going to go up. So, you know, it's that mindset of, you know, are you willing to take the risk? And if you are, there needs to be upside for it.
Yeah, I mean, like looking at an example, let's just compare like a duplex, for example. If I have a duplex over here in Fayetteville, that's like everything is new, it's newer construction, it's really nice, and the rents are like $2,000 a month. There's not a lot of risk associated with that because nothing's going to go wrong with the building. You probably have like a paralegal, an attorney, a teacher, or something like that as a tenant. They have a more stable job, they're going to pay. Therefore, my return might be like 5 to 10%. It's very little over there. But maybe I go over on South Salina Street where there was a shooting last night and get a building for $10,000. Realistically, you wouldn't, but the mortgage payments can be very less. You're probably going to get a tenant that's a little bit more rough and tough. The building's going to be older, so there's going to be a lot of risk there. But I'm going to cash flow at like probably like 80% return year one. And I know investors that do that and make a lot of money. I know investors that are a little bit more risk mitigated and make a little bit more money, but they can sleep better at night. So, any other questions? You have another question before DJ?
I do, but I'll let someone here.
No, you're good. Anyone else have a question? Yeah.
I have like a little off-topic question.
Yeah.
With like pertains to like leads and stuff like that, do you have any ideas for like purchasing businesses or anything? Like I know LoopNet, sometimes we'll sell LoopNet, things like that, but any other ideas?
There's a website, I forgot what it was, that literally just has businesses for sale. And you could just go there. So if you Google like businesses for sale, it'll probably come up in like the first Google searches.
Okay.
But LoopNet too, like you can buy the building and the business.
Right.
Sometimes just the business is for sale, or sometimes when the building and business is for sale, it's a ground lease. So you,
Yeah, there's Dante, there's businessbroker.net, I think it is.
That's
It
what it
has, they'll link in with like franchises and different businesses for sale, and you can put in your search criteria.
yep, businessbrokers.net.
I
Oh, you muted yourself.
Also, there's a biz buy sell.
I heard
Oh,
that.
sorry, I was on mute. If you do business brokers, it'll definitely come up. Maybe it's businessbrokers.com or something like that.
Yep. Ben, do you have a question?
I guess my question would be like selecting a property manager.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how do you find them?
So like for a topic, or just kind of asking real quick, what do you think for that?
I guess maybe as a topic, or if you can answer it now. I guess I'm beginning to point with how many units I have. I don't have the time to manage them.
No, not at all, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, if I do buy more, how much I get a property manager. I don't even know what to look for them.
Yeah, it's tough. Like locally, property management is super difficult because like that apartment complex, and I always point out because it's right there, but like that has a lot of units. So that's going to bring in more of a professional property manager. And those guys, like if you go to apartments.com, it'll actually have the property management logo on the bottom right. So if you're looking for a property manager, I suggest going to apartments.com, looking for apartments near where yours is, and you can actually contact the management company who manages like assets and kind of work backwards, like that reverse prospecting. But like maybe figuring out some of your clients that you lend on, who are you using for property management? What is your experience with them? I have a really tough time referring sometimes clients for property management. I've got like one or two good ones locally that I like that have done a pretty good job, and I'll kind of send those as I sell properties. Okay, you're not local, here's a property manager to talk to. He's done a really good job for me personally.
So what exactly do they take over for like the charge?
They'll show the unit. Sometimes they'll charge like a month or half a month's rent for putting someone in there, but
In addition to like the percentage they charge of the rental?
correct, yeah. So like if a unit's for $1,000 a month, they'll come in, if they place someone, they'll take 500 up front or 1,000 up front to place that tenant, plus 8 to 10% moving forward. They'll take care of doing management calls for you, instead of your phone ringing, theirs will. A lot of them, like the one I use, he has in-house maintenance, so he'll like go over, change filters, take on maintenance calls.
And then is that any maintenance costs is in addition to the 10%?
If they have to change a filter, the cost of the filter and, the cost to go over there, but they'll take those calls for you. They'll take those tenant phone calls. They'll go try to renew the lease. They'll do a lot of the footwork, but anything that's going to take like physical labor and like materials, they'll charge for. So like, exactly. So like Paul Finch is his name. I forgot the name of his company. He does a really good job. So like I have a few clients that come in from New York City, and when we're going to buy a property, he'll meet us over there. He'll walk through it and just say, hey, this is what codes is going to look for. He does a really good job. Like I can trust him, and he manages really well. He's aggressive and he does stuff in house. He's got, an assistant. He's got some employees. He's one of the good ones I've worked with and found that does a good job. So Paul Finch is his name.
I didn't know he did. I thought he just walked around.
No, his bread and butter is management. For like larger assets, again, going to apartments.com, kind of working backwards, or just talking to brokers or agents, kind of figuring out, okay, who do you know manages locally and who does a good job? Connor, you had your hand raised. You do management, right?
Yep. So
Okay.
I work with TG Sticks Management. The owner's Joe Stickle. He's from around here. We manage about 125 properties, and my main job with him is actually advertise on Facebook our rentals, our properties for sale, and if we're buying houses at that time. Because we also do flips, and actually with the Facebook stuff, if you post it in like garage sale groups.
Yep.
Especially in the Syracuse area, there's like 60 to 80,000 people in those groups.
Yep.
I'm getting 300 to 500 messages a day
Oh yeah.
on properties, like for just renting properties or for sales.
Yeah. Facebook is huge. Like when I was self-managing and I put my own properties on Facebook Marketplace, I literally got like 300 inquiries for a rental. Probably only 10% of those people actually qualified. And then out of that, I kind of narrowed it down. It's just like that funnel approach. So you're taking everyone, you keep bringing them down the funnel until you find that tenant. So like out of 300, I'll send out a little PDF that just says, thanks for inquiring. Do you meet the following criteria? Credit score, background check, no smoking. 90% of them won't even reply because they don't meet that and they're like gone. Okay, that's fine. I got rid of them. Then that 10%, yeah, okay, when can I see it? Then I'll do group showings and that kind of brings down the funnel. Here's the people that replied. Here's the people that actually showed up to the showing. Here's the people that actually, it's going down the funnel, fill out an application, people that apply or qualify through the application, and then boom, you have your tenant. So Facebook Marketplace is huge. I think that's a pretty good tool.
And we do everything you just said, we do that. I do all that for our company.
Now, do you guys charge a fee when you place a tenant, like half a month's rent or full month's rent?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
I think it's like half a month's rent or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
pretty standard.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, see, I can, if you want to give me your name and number, I can definitely get in touch with you.
Yeah, like I've seen your stuff on Facebook before. I had a friend that's just like, you're friends with this guy on Facebook, do you know him? And I was like, oh yeah, it's Connor, he does management stuff. So like, not against you at all. Finding big property management that can take down a lot of properties can be difficult in smaller markets. And like, you guys probably don't want to operate with like slumlord properties. That's probably not your wheelhouse. Finding management for that is very management intensive. So you're not going to want to be in that realm. We're like probably like A, B, and C class properties. You guys probably like a little bit better because you don't get a call every time the light bulb goes out. The tenant's just going to take care of that.
Yeah, we're getting out of that right now. We're in mainly like the Eastwood neighborhoods and then FM, JD areas.
There you go.
Not so much the city anymore, but we do have some in North Syracuse and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, some property managers just won't do it in the city. Some contractors, oh, you own rentals in the city? I don't do any of that. I only do like the suburbs, nicer areas. So it just depends on what area works. Questions? I saw some other hands. Someone else, you had another question?
Yeah, I was just going back to what you said earlier about the shooting. You were saying those class C, class D properties, there is a lot of risk that go along associated with it, but usually from experience, most of those situations are guaranteed income because a lot of those people are on government
Section 8.
programs, or they get some sort of income from somewhere outside of them having a job. So I get what you're saying that there's a lot of risk involved,
but it's guaranteed.
It is guaranteed. So it's kind of like being stuck, in my opinion, from my shoes. I can't speak very well. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place because you want to help out the people that look like you're in your community, but you know what comes along with it. At the same time, you know it's a cash cow, but it's not gonna. Like you said, people call you for stupid shit. So.
Yeah, the risk associated with that is not the income; it's the condition the property will be after they leave.
Oh, for sure.
And the amount of money you got to put into it.
Right. You might
right. So the condition of the property means more money.
You might get 12 grand in rent, but you got to put 8K back to get that unit rent ready.
And then you got to clean shit up the closet.
Literally, yeah. Like I have one client from New York City, and he's like, "Can you go check on this property for me? I think I want to sell it." Like I went in there, and I literally went home, took a shower immediately, and like almost burned my clothes. Like this place was disgusting, but he's like, "Oh yeah, Section 8 pays 90% of their rent." He goes, "They haven't paid their rent in a year, and I don't really care because the guaranteed amount was so good. Like it goes directly into his checking account." I don't really agree with that method completely. But at the same time, that's how some people live. So even if you give them a really good place to have and to stay, they still really screw it up. And it's it's a shoulder shrug at that point. So the risk there is more the condition than collecting the rent. I know a lot of people who their entire portfolio is only Section 8, and they collected every dime of Section 8 throughout COVID, and meaning their tenants paid that self-pay part, and they didn't really care. They're like, okay, that's $87. Times 12, that's less than $1,200. That's water under the bridge for me. I covered all expenses and still brought home a huge check. So that's something to think about too. It's just what kind of what can you stomach and what kind of risks you can take in. Again, like people's bread and butter can be that Section 8, that subsidized housing. Other people are like, I want like the nicest tenant in the world, like that dream tenant. But that dream tenant's going to cost you a lot in expenses to have. That mortgage payment's gonna be super high.
I'm sure he can attest to it, but wouldn't you agree, wouldn't y'all agree that at some point, and I'm sorry to keep everybody late, at some point, making that leap into that commercial, that's, in my opinion, I don't know everything.
Oh, yeah.
But that's where real money is.
That is exactly true. That's kind of like where DJ and I have, I don't want to say graduated to, but we've moved up to because we've done the smaller stuff, we've made the money. I kind of got tired of it, of all, you know, having 20 roofs and 20 different locations. I wanted everything under one roof, and that's why we got into commercial. There's a price to pay to get in that commercial space though, and that price is time and experience, is, you know, building up that net worth and that network as well. You know, building up that team that can bring you those properties and get you to close on those properties, but actually bring in the funds to get those properties. Because the barrier to entry is very large for commercial. You know, how many of us can say we can go and buy this building right now, this mixed use building that's, you know, 30,000 square feet. I don't think anyone in this room can take this down right now by themselves. So that's where you start to get partnerships involved. That's where you start to get, you know, equity that you have to go find, you know, get that involved. And that's where real wealth is built.
Right.
And again, don't get me wrong with that smaller stuff. I know guys who have 180 units of the smaller stuff, and they can go take a vacation for a year and not have to worry about a thing. You know, those 180 units are paying for everything. They've got good management in place, and they've made that bread and butter off of that. So it's just, there's 100 different ways to skin the cat, and it's just waiting for, like, there's a lot of guys that just do commercial real estate, and like maybe they just do office buildings, and, you know, they've made a killing at it. And then some people are like me right now, I'm like, office has a lot of risk. I don't want that. I want multifamily.
You got a card?
Yeah, I'll get one over to you in a second. I don't have it on me.
Yeah, and hey, Dante, just to tag on to that real quick, you know, I think picking a direction and sticking to it is huge. So, you know, real estate, you can be a lot, and I've used this analogy before, you know, a moth with a light on, right? Somebody turns it on over here, and people are all over the place. So if you don't ever pick a direction, you can get lost in real estate. And I think having a partner is huge. Somebody put this in as a potential chat or a topic, meetup topic. You know, knowing your skill sets, knowing what you do and don't do well. You know, I love working with Dante because we really complement each other in a lot of ways. And I think that's huge, and it's huge from an accountability standpoint. So as you look at partnerships, don't pick somebody like yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
He picked somebody like 3 times his age.
Exactly. And I make him feel younger. He makes me feel older. But it's again, like those partnerships. So let's use syndication, for example. You hear me talk about all the time, we raise capital to buy like large deals. How cool is it to like go out and just say, yeah, I'm part owner of a 120 apartment complex. That's a conversation starter. Like someone's like, I've never done that. Tell me more about that. How the heck are you able to do that? Like, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, these guys, you know, they run the deal for me. It's 100% passive. I get all the benefits. Like, I'm in commercial real estate. Part of your, you know, you can lend from your retirement account into real estate. You can lend into apartments. You can lend into commercial. Talk about diversifying. Like, I'm sick and tired of opening my brokerage account every day and seeing red, green, red, green, red, green, and then not getting any of it, and then going to sell and having to give like 20% of that back to the government. Versus like with the real estate, it's very steady. It usually, if it's operated correctly, continues to go up in value. And then each month or each quarter, I start to get some dollars from that, and I can reinvest it and throw it somewhere else. Like, that's a cool way to get started in commercial real estate. I mean, the investment thing, DJ, how many units do you have, or we have kind of too, but mostly you out of your retirement account?
Yeah, we're over 800 now and looking to push that over 1,000 here shortly.
And is that all through retirement?
No, it's a mix. It's a mix. Yeah.
So, you know, there's a retirement account, and what, you're probably like 50-50 stocks in real estate?
Yeah. Yeah. So personally, between my wife and I, we decided to actually take, you know, a chunk of our retirement and move that into real estate. So, you know, we still have stocks. It's good to be diversified. You know, that's never going to hurt. But here's the thing, and what really turns me on, especially with regard to syndications, and part of the reason why I decided to move on to the GP side, is just how steady and dependable it is. And they talk about the path to wealth. And if you can make 12% on your money, I think is how it goes. You double your money every 7 years. Well, we underwrite deals where people can double their money in 5 years. That's powerful. That's really powerful. So, you know, I like that. I think it's really cool. And multifamily is just, it's a dependable asset class that, you know, we know is going to do well. I don't think there's any stopping it right now. We just got a report out of Texas and some of the properties that we're part owners on. they are talking about double-digit rent growth this year. And the gentleman who's the syndicator there said early in the year, he was predicting 6% rent growth. And he goes, I think by the end of the year, our actual rent growth will blow. And 6% is huge. Usually you do like 2 or 3.
Yeah, we underwrite like 3.
Yeah, he projected 6, and he thinks it's going to be double-digit rent growth this year. Why? Housing values are going up, right? Multiple offers, places over asking, really driving up or driving people into multifamily housing. A lot of people relocating into Texas and the Southeast. So that's why we're high on the multifamily.
I mean, to put that in perspective, $1,000 rent per month on a unit, your renewal comes up, you're now paying $1,100 a month. Times 100 units, look how much value you just added. And that's the nice thing about real estate. I don't have to tell you guys this because that's why you're all here. If you maintain the building, no matter when you go to sell it, it's going to be worth more than what you bought it for, typically, unless you overpaid and ran it into the ground. And DJ, that portfolio that we're in, how much did he say the value of the portfolio started at versus how much is it worth now? It doesn't have to be exact, I won't hold you to it, but this is great.
No, understood. So this guy in this group that I'm a part of, he's got 6 different, these are 250 to 300 unit garden style apartments in Dallas and Austin. So he started buying in 2019. Some of these units were bought in 2020. There were 6 different apartment complexes that he's purchased. The total purchase price was $250 million. And their estimated value right now, if they were to sell, is $330 million.
Okay,
so a 30% increase in value, and that doesn't even include, the cash on cash returns that we're getting. It doesn't include the tax advantages that we're getting. So it's huge right now, and I don't see anything stopping it, at least in the next year or 2.
So it went from 250 million to 330, you said?
Yeah, and some of these he's only had for a year, but the total portfolio, 6 different apartment complexes, total purchase price 250. Their current street value, they conservatively estimate at 330 million.
So that's 80 million in value built in a year. And so that's, just do the math.
Yeah, now we haven't recognized that, right? We don't recognize it till we sell. But in the syndication space, we're getting cash distributions along the way. And we'll recognize that when they cash us out. And they did return some capital too. So there's a lot there to unpack, but that's a big increase in value.
I hear like numbers and increases like that. I can't help but to smile. Like that's the stuff that gets me excited and like gets me going is like the real estate stuff. So that's pretty sweet. We won't bore you anymore with this kind of syndication stuff. You guys hear me talk about that enough. Again, real quick, you guys were awesome, pretty active tonight, which I really appreciate. Any other topics real quick that you guys want to hear about? Any other questions you guys have? Would love to answer them or make sure I bring that to you for some education. Anything else?
If anybody knows a hard money person that would like to come and try to make more money.
How much are you looking for? Realistically. For hard money. Like how much do you need out of curiosity?
Right now I don't need anything, but I'd like to know someone I can go to when the deal comes up.
Okay.
Especially off market stuff.
So like hard money because you need it short term, not like for permanent financing, correct?
Yeah, short term, like you get an off market deal, maybe this place has been ran by an 8-year-old person that, the place just needs updating and it could be worth like 40% more than you're buying it for. But you don't want to go get a loan on it, fix it up, and then go repay closing all over again.
Right. So this guy could possibly, they've got programs, possibly. Sorry to advertise for you.
I know. Oh, no, he knows me well.
Oh, okay, all right. That's right, you brought him here, okay. So they, like America has some programs, you can go online and actually get some pretty good hard money lenders.
There are like, it's not a hard money loan we do, it's just an unsecured term note, but for what you're looking for, I know of one that lends to somebody I worked with. I don't know what they do to qualify people who they work with, and I know your rate probably wouldn't be the same as what they give this person because the amount of time they work with them.
Yeah.
I can give you the name of that company.
Okay.
I just love the program they have over there. I call them all the time asking about it. I'm like, you guys want to lend on this? You guys want to lend on that? And if you can Google hard money lenders. Or Bigger Pockets actually has a spot on hard money lenders. So if you need cash like now to get a deal moving, you can go through them. They'll definitely help you out.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Can you just explain what hard money lender is?
Yeah, definitely. So the hard money and private money, they go together pretty well. So if I don't have the funds and I need to buy something in like cash quick and I need it like right now, hard money lenders are like institutes that are going to like give you, like write you a check for 100,000, but their rate's gonna be like 10%. It's gonna be super high, but you're only using that for a short term. So like I used a hard money lender when I wanted to buy this place for cash, fix it up, and then sell it or refinance it, and then give those funds back. I use the hard money lender. That's gonna be like an institution or a company that's gonna do that and lend out those funds. Versus like a private money lender is gonna be like someone like, let's say DJ, I need $50,000, and say, DJ, can you write me a check for 50 grand? I'll give you 8% interest on it in 3 months when I'm done with it. Those are kind of like the differences. So like hard money is just finding cash quick and getting funding quick versus putting a mortgage on it that could take like up to 60 days.
Yeah, hard money's a business too. You're borrowing money from a business versus an individual.
Yep.
And
Private money is the individual.
yeah, lots of strings attached. So somebody actually asked in the chat earlier about, funding deals. So for new people, that's the two common ways: hard money, private money. You always prefer private money. Somebody may think 8%'s a great deal. I typically don't lend out unless I'm getting 12%, because I know I can make, 15 or better in syndications, right? So, and the other option is to partner with somebody. You bring the deal, they bring the money. JV agreement.
Yeah, I mean, I've done deals where I've used private money, hard money, and my own money. Like I used all three. I used,
But keep in mind, you got draws on hard money. There's inspections, there's fees. So it's not just the expense of the money, paying points, high interest rates. You're typically having to make payments to them throughout the project. So if you can do private money, it's always the preferred way to go. And then you can negotiate terms and maybe just say to somebody, hey, I'll give you 10%, which for a lot of people is a great deal. I pay it all at the end.
Yeah, and then like Ben was saying, sometimes there's prepayment penalties. So if you have an agreement that I'll get you the money back in 6 months, here's the interest rate. Let's say you're done in 3 months, you try to give it back. They're like, well, we agreed to this rate. Maybe instead of giving me 5% interest by that time, I want 8. And so there's a prepayment penalty on top of 3%. It just depends. That's the cool thing about like private money and hard money is there's no hard and fast rule. You can structure it however you want. And there's some hard money lenders out there locally, and there's a lot of investors out there that use it to do deals quick and like make things happen. So it's pretty cool.
And look, don't look at fees. I mean, when I say don't look at them, look at the big picture. It's okay to pay fees and high interest rates if your deal's going to make money.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the day, look at the deal as a whole and then try to get it done as effectively as you can.
You're not going to use like hard money or private money for permanent financing or like perm financing, because usually hard money is like 10 or 15-year amortization and the rate's really high. So if your rate's like 10% and the return you're getting on this property is like 8%, you're actually like losing money because you're paying 2% to the lender. You're not making any money there. You don't ever want to use hard money or private money long term. You want it, short term, it's just for the quick fix. And then you want to put it into perm or permanent financing. That's like the long 25-year term or whatever, you're using for that. That's going to make sense. It can be a lower interest rate. It's a little bit more sturdy for the project. So.
You said America does that?
They're not hard.
Yeah, they're not hard money. I just call it that. Yeah.
It's really like a cheap. We're limited on how much we can do it because we're regulated. Like when it's 50,000 or less, we have a pretty good unsecured term loan where it's like $250 to get that loan, and the rates can be 8 to 10%.
Yeah.
So if you need a smaller amount, it's a pretty good option. I mean, we can go up to $500,000 unsecured, but it's pretty rare that we do that. It's got to be some very strong cash flow if we're going to go that high on unsecured. The hard money lenders, they do a lot of like collateral-based lending. They'll just look at it, it's worth 100,000, we'll give you 80 because then we know we don't pay, we can sell it and make our money back.
Right.
So.
Ben's like, quit telling people about the program, man. I just like love telling people about it. It's a good program. I've used it.
It is, yeah. No, we advertise it a lot, but yeah, it's very different compared to hard money lender. But.
Yeah, so I did like that program with AmeriQ, and then when I went to refinance this BRRRR, right at the closing table, I didn't even get any funds back. on the closing disclosure is like, okay, we're giving you 120,000, 45 of that is coming back to us to satisfy the hard money loan. And then here are the funds that are left. So it got satisfied like right at the closing table. It worked out really well. And that was just, I needed it for a few months. And so I made the payments on it and it worked well.
Yeah, because that loan we close, if you do the application right, it closes in like 3 days.
Yeah, like same week. I literally went,
3 days?
yeah. I literally like went to them, they gave me the check, it was like 50 grand written out to Dante Belmonte. I was like, am I going to the dealership? No, like go buy the house, go buy the house. Like, not that there's no questions asked, but I'm still like obligated to pay it back. And there's things to, go on with there. So, any other questions? Cool. You guys were pretty awesome tonight. Lots of topics there. DJ, if you can just grab that in the chat real quick.
Yep.
So we'll be meeting at the end of next month. I'll let you guys know what the topic is. If for some reason you aren't getting the emails we're sending out, let me know, because that means it's either in your spam folder, your promotion folder on Gmail, and you just got to drag it to your inbox so you can see the deals that are being sent out or any announcements we have on any investments. So just keep that in mind. Again, if you're not getting the emails, we send out like one to like 5 a month. That's why it's just going to a different folder. Gmail hates us. It just keeps dragging it to the promotion tab. And that's why a lot of you guys might not see it. So you guys are more than welcome to stay, hang out, chat. You guys over on Zoom, thank you very much for coming in as always. DJ, thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. Great to be with everybody.
Yeah.